자, 그럼 지금부터 프레젠테이션 스킬과 퍼블릭 스피킹이라는 주제로 우리 미국에서 오신 최경준님의 강연이 있겠습니다. 우리 강연을 해주실 최경준님을 무대로 모십니다. 네, 제가 먼저 잠깐 소개를 드리자면 우리 최경준님은 현재 미국에서 배우 겸 극작가, 컨설턴트로 활동을 하고 계십니다. 그리고 다양한 경력을 바탕으로 TV 컨퍼런스에서 강연자로도 활동을 하고 계십니다. 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
Members, my name is Esther Che, and I'm honored and excited that Oversea has asked me to conduct a short but intense presentation and hopefully enlightening presentation about public speaking and presentation skills. 여러분 안녕하세요. 최경주입니다. As many of you know, or might know, I'm an actor working in Hollywood. I also teach acting. And in 2009, I had an extraordinary experience where I was selected as one of the first TED Fellows. At the time, when I would mention TED, people would say, TED? Oh, Ted Kim. And I would be like, no, it's not a person. It's actually a conference called Technology, Entertainment, and Design. But now, TED Talks are ubiquitous, and a lot of people know about TED Talks, so that's a really great thing. So these three endeavors, acting, teaching, and my TED Fellowship, naturally created opportunities to help other thought leaders on their stage presentations and stage and public speaking. But why is there a need for coaching? In the past, the people who sought out coaching were mostly elected political officials or executive business executives whose career depended on making strong impressions in the boardrooms or in media. But now, in the new media era, as we all know too well, with so many people and so much more content competing for attention, and with the standard for acceptable delivery being actually very high, clear, authentic, and engaging storytelling is an imperative skill for a leader like yourselves. Also, culturally speaking, leaders of Korean diaspora can have some specific challenges. The language used in the country we are residing in might not be our first language. We might look different from what other people think a leader should look like. And even if there's no language barrier, your personal family culture or working culture might still be heavily influenced by the Korean Yugyo-sasan, the Korean Confucius hierarchy structure. And that doesn't necessarily provide great opportunities to have a point of view publicly, a strong one, or to speak up. I myself had many challenges and still have challenges working in Hollywood. So, which is why when I had an opportunity to present a TEDx talk, I presented a talk called WIBLTD. What if Bruce Lee didn't die? And in the talk, I talked with a fictional 75-year-old Bruce Lee as if he hadn't died, and he's my hero, by the way. And I talk about the lack of Asian American representations in the media and arts, and how things would have been different if he didn't die. And he had like a multimedia company like this, and had great influence. And I end the talk by saying everyone can kick ass by accessing their own inner Bruce Lee, and by being like water, penetrate through to the ultimate truth. But before we jump into some more technical tips and techniques for public speaking, I want to share with everyone Ted's secret to great public speaking, because this talk concisely explains a very important idea, why ideas and telling of a good story matter. I used to actually explain this from a performer's point of view, but then this talk came out, so I started using this. So we'll have a look at this together.
Your number one task as a speaker is to transfer into your listeners' minds an extraordinary gift, a strange and beautiful object that we call an idea. Let me show you what I mean. Here's Haley. She is about to give a TED Talk, and frankly, she's terrified. Over the course of 18 minutes, 1,200 people, many of whom have never seen each other before, are finding that their brains are starting to sync with Haley's brain and with each other. They're literally beginning to exhibit the same brainwave patterns. And I don't just mean that they're feeling the same emotions. There's something even more startling happening. And let's take a look inside Haley's brain for a moment. There are billions of interconnected neurons in an impossible tangle. But look, here, right here, a few million of them are linked to each other in a way which represents a single idea. And incredibly, this exact pattern is being recreated in real time inside the minds of everyone listening. That's right. In just a few minutes, a pattern involving millions of neurons is being teleported into 1,200 minds just by people listening to a voice and watching a face. But wait, what is an idea anyway? Well, you can think of it as a pattern of information that helps you understand and navigate the world. Ideas come in all shapes and sizes, from the complex and analytical to the simple and aesthetic. And here are just a few examples shown from the TED stage. Sir Ken Robinson, creativity is key to our kids' future.
My contention is that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status.
Elora Harding, building from bamboo is beautiful.
It is growing all around us. It's strong, it's elegant, it's earthquake resistant.
Chimamanda Adichie, people are more than a single identity.
The single story creates stereotypes, and the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete.
Your mind is teeming with ideas, and not just randomly. They're carefully linked together. Collectively, they form an amazingly complex structure that is your personal worldview. It's your brain's operating system. It's how you navigate the world. And it is built up out of millions of individual ideas. So, for example, if one little component of your worldview is the idea that kittens are adorable, then when you see this, you'll react like this. But if another component of your worldview is the idea that leopards are dangerous, then when you see this, you'll react a little bit differently. So it's pretty obvious why the ideas that make up your worldview are crucial. You need them to be as reliable as possible, a guide to the scary but wonderful real world out there. Now, different people's worldviews can be dramatically different. For example, how does your worldview react when you see this image?
What do you think when you look at me? A woman of faith, an expert, maybe even a sister, or oppressed, brainwashed, a terrorist?
Whatever your answer, there are millions of people out there who would react very differently. So that's why ideas really matter. If communicated properly, they're capable of changing forever how someone thinks about the world and shaping their actions both now and well into the future. Ideas are the most powerful force shaping human culture.
You can have the lights back on, please. Thank you. It's so important. I'm going to actually mention it one more time. Why ideas? And it really means storytelling. Why storytellings matter? Because if communicated properly, it is capable of changing forever the way how someone thinks about the world and shaping their actions both now and in the future. So, the first key point for a great and strong public presentation is the power of authentic storytelling, just like we heard right now. As we learned, the power of authentic storytelling cannot be underestimated. We are literally our neurons are wired to actually retain and enjoy and absorb stories. So as leaders, we want to utilize storytelling because they are a great way to help people remember what you say and convey information, and it also carries with the audience the emotions. So that's why storytelling is a very useful tool for leaders to think about how they will actually communicate their information. We actually had great examples from our conferences. The FLC talks the first night, 양비리 씨, 한상수 씨 Kim Tae-hwan Shi, Shin Hong-ho Shi, we all heard about their personal struggles and their overcoming of the challenges. It's a classic structure of the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell's. I won't go into details, but later on I will share with all of our groups the links where you can go to and research and review things at your own time, so don't worry. But I just wanted to point that out as an example of strong storytelling that is authentic. The second key point is your audience, of course. You have your story and you're the storyteller, and now you have your audience to share it with. So don't forget them and engage with them before you even start to actually meet them in person. So what do I mean by that? So as we prepare our speeches and presentations, we want to make the effort to research and understand our audience. Who are they? Are they business colleagues who need to learn from your expertise? Are they students where you need to actually break it down and break down your content a little bit more basically? Do you actually need to move the audience into action to vote for you? What is the size of your audience? Are they culturally specific, like our FLC conference? So even if your main content is the same, it should adapt and be customized for your specific audience. And the person that I thought that did it really well was the first day Mr. Choi Tae-sung 역사 선생님, the historian. I thought he really did a great presentation because not only was he a great storyteller, but he also knew who the audience was, who the audience were going to be, and he thought ahead of time, what kind of characters and stories can I bring from the past that would still be relatable to us. And I thought that was a really great presentation. Okay, now, so you prepared your speech and you're in the same space with your audience. You must look at them. There are some people who do not look at their audience members. And this doesn't mean you have to make eye contact with everybody. That's actually impossible unless it's actually it's a small group. But you can't just be reading from your script, although you can certainly use your script, as I am, and notes, and cue cards, and PowerPoints, whatever is helpful. But you do want to make sure that you are actually engaging with your audience members. So if you can't make specific eye contacts, I'm going to make some specific eye contacts with our friend over here, and over here if they're closer, but if not, all you need to do is really reach out to the general direction. And so you're making eye contact in quotes in the general direction of the room. A point in the front, and then in the back. You choose a point, and then to the left of the audience. And so the size actually matters of where you're doing your presentation because you'll have to gauge that and hopefully actually rehearse that while you're doing it in your room or wherever you're preparing. So that's another thing about engaging with your audience. Once you do this, your audience, even if you're not looking at them directly, will feel included. And so people from the stage and stage performers know this. The third key point, there's only 4. The third key point is to have a strong blueprint. Don't wing your presentation. I've worked with some clients who tell me, oh, I do this all the time, and then they start rambling and derailing, and they don't keep within their time, and it's very important to keep within your time. So when I was on the stage for TED or any TED Talks, I don't know if other conferences do this actually, but there's a timer on stage, and it's just going ding, 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 and you can see it, and the lights go off if you go over your allotted time. And this is really important because there's, of course, a larger structure of the conference. You want to be respectful to the audience's time and their attention. And as we know, it's actually harder to write and do a shorter presentation than a longer one when you have time. So for myself, the presentation today, this 30-minute presentation, is usually a 4-hour workshop where I'm working with the audience and we're doing a lot of things. So having to change this actually took a lot of time, even though there's only 4 key points that we're going through. And as I mentioned, when you have your adrenaline kicking in, your nerves can get in the way, jet lag, all of that. So please have a strong blueprint that you actually worked on and find a way what best works for you. If you're off book, that's great. Be off book meaning not using your script, but using anything that is supportive is perfectly fine, as long as you're making the engagement with your audience. Now the fourth one is going to be acting techniques that I want to share with our group. So people ask me, do I get nervous when I go on stage? And yes, every time, absolutely. And so what do you guys do? What do actors do? So one of the main basic techniques that stage performers use, and those of you who have been on the stage will know, is breath, breathing. And I would like us actually just to try this together, even though I'm the one who's probably more nervous than up in front of you. If we could just all close our eyes together, and we're just going to do a simple breathing exercise, where we breathe in 5 counts, and breathe out. And you want to do big belly breaths, meaning going down to your 단전 hole. And you want your spine erect and tall. And we'll breathe in together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it making you giggle? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can open your eyes now. So those of you who are taking photos right now, I will share my PowerPoint with the group, just in case you're worried about that. So this is a really simple exercise before you go on stage, just in your room, somewhere private that you can just do. And but it's actually very important. And the reason why it's so important is that you can, as a performer, change your physical state with breathing and therefore change how you reach your audience with your vibration. So it is actually a physiological experience that we actually share with the audience. So that's why breath is so important. And with the deep breathing, as we know, it will ground ourselves and get us rooted. Now, on the flip side though, there's some folks who actually need some adrenaline. They need some adrenaline kicking in, or they're actually so nervous, they actually shut down and they get very muted. For those kind of speakers, and you'll have to just experiment with yourselves, I offer a breathing technique called breath of fire. I think people who do yoga might know this. Do people know what breath of fire is? I just want to... Okay, actually not a lot of people, so I'm going to do a little bit of a presentation. Let's just do it together, actually. So breath of fire is the opposite. It's trying to oxygenate your body quite quickly. So you're doing the same type of... Does this work too? No. So we're trying to do the deep belly breath breathing, but we're going to do it rapidly through the nose. And so it looks and sounds something like this. And people who do yoga know this. People who do some kind of meditation might know this. And this is really effective if you're on stage and you feel like you're actually not focused and you want to get your body energized. You want to do this breath of fire, which is a rapid breath with your mouth closed. Do you guys want to try it? Or should we just move on? Let's try it. Okay. So everybody, let's just close your eyes, ground yourselves, and then make sure you're connected with your belly, with your breathing. And let's go for 20 seconds. I don't hear, and I only hear myself. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you feel how it's different from your deep belly breathing? So it's just a quick technique, but I would do this for at least 50, more than 30, and you will see how it actually changes your vibrations in your body. So 2 very simple breathing techniques I've shared here. So the second actor technique that I want to share with our group is on-camera recording. Has anybody actually recorded their rehearsals or presentations and have actually reviewed their own presentations on camera? Great. So a few people. Well, what was that experience like?
Take 2, take 3, take 5.
The small things, you picked up on small things that you didn't notice. This is one of the most effective methods of working with my clients, and these are things that you can do by yourselves, especially during rehearsal, because feedback from other people are great, and it's actually very helpful, but seeing yourself is not the same. Seeing yourself in action is not the same. And self-realization is going to be on a completely different level when you see yourself recorded. And for those who are not familiar with seeing themselves recorded, it can be really weird, it's uncomfortable, and it's embarrassing. And I promise you, you will get over that stage and you'll get more used to it the more you do it. For example, when I work with some of my clients, they're not aware of the tics that they have. Some of my North American speakers, when they haven't prepared their speech, their usual casual tone comes in, and they start using like really a lot. And then I was thinking about and they just start using all these filler words. It's called right. You know, these are all filler words. So these are things that you probably might not be aware of unless you actually record yourselves. And when you actually see what the audiences are seeing, you'll understand how distracting some of these habits can be. Another big one that I would like to share with our audience is actually moving and movement and swaying. So you can completely, absolutely walk around on the stage with purpose. So you can come around here and talk, share what you have to say, but don't keep wandering. This is actually a habit, and a lot of people don't know that they're actually doing this. Even when you're in the same place, some people start swaying like this, and you're shifting your body center. And so try and be aware of this, and once you start recording yourselves, you'll see if you're doing this or not. And for instance, let's say it's a on-camera close-up and you're swaying like this, you're going to be swaying within the screen a lot. So these are things that you might not be aware of, and I would really highly encourage everybody to record themselves at some point if they have a big presentation. And it's so easy to do. You can just use your smartphone, just put it up there, and nobody else has to see it, but you would actually be able to pick up a lot of things. So on-camera recording. Oops, that's right. This is already up. The third actor technique is mental positioning. So as actors, there's a few of us here, auditions is a B. It's really awful. I personally do not enjoy auditioning. You go into this arbitrary situation, there's a writer, director, and I have to perform in this character in this small room. It's really nerve-wracking. And this acting teacher that I took a class from had mentioned, you know, when you go into the audition, you should change your mental positioning and think about yourself as the host. You are the host of the party. So what that means is when you come up here, you're trying to take care of everybody else, actually. You're trying to take care of your audience. Are they understanding you well? Are they comfortable? Are they getting confused, and do I need to clarify things? And what it does is it takes the attention off of yourself, and therefore it makes it less nerve-wracking and self-conscious. So I thought that was a really good tip that I actually learned that I've been using as an actor, and I've been sharing that with other people who are doing public speaking, and it's been quite effective. So you think about yourself as the host. It's your party. You're going to talk about what you're going to talk about. You're going to have a good time, and you want everybody else to have a good time. So be the host at the party. Also, nervousness and excitement actually have the same physiological expression, meaning your palms get sweaty, your voice gets tight, your mouth is getting dry, all of these things that happen when you're nervous. But actually, if you can just change your thought process of just, instead of like, oh shit, into, oh yeah, I'm excited, and just kind of psych yourself out like athletes do, that can be really helpful as well. And so you have to catch yourself. You kind of have to be your best coach outside of yourself and see, where am I? How am I feeling? And you try and redirect your own self before public speaking. Now the last one is an improv game called Yes And. And in improv, this Yes And exercise, the performers accept whatever their scene partners do or say as part of the reality of the scene, and then they build on it with their own contributions. So what that means is you have to be present in the moment. You have to be listening to what your partner is saying, and you must accept that reality. You can't say, no, that's not going to happen. You have to say, oh, yes, and. And so I want to play this Yes And game with a few audience members, if not one, since we don't have time for a workshop. Is there any volunteers? We can do it in English, we can do it in Korean, we can do it in Russian with translation. Yay, okay. So, Mimi, right? Lily, sorry. So Lily, do you want to, I'll just give you a statement, and you can just say yes and if frilling, whatever you'd like. Just add on, okay?
I teach this at my school.
You do, so you know it very well, but you start.
I started, oh gosh.
No, I'll start,
Okay, start.
Okay. So, Mimi, right?
Lily.
Lily.
Oh,
Okay. So Lily, last night I was actually walking down the street and I saw something on the ground.
oh yes, that was amazing. I saw it too.
Yes, and do you remember what it was? I think it was actually glowing.
Yes, it was a glow stick. From somebody went to the club and dropped it.
Yes, I think I actually saw that guy drop that. Do you know who he is?
Yes, it was David, right here. He was at the club and he had lots of glow sticks on him.
Yes, and David actually gave me a few of those, but I lost them. So David, do you have some glow sticks?
Yes, and I gave it to the dragon next door as well.
Yes, and that dragon, is that your pet?
Yes, I bought it at the local pet store.
So in Korea they actually sell dragons at the pet store.
Yes, they do, because dragons are all from Korea.
That's right. So that's the example. Of course, it could start from something mundane, and then it can go into the ridiculous in improv. I'm not saying do this at your presentation, but what happens is it's really an attitude about positivity, and you saying yes and accepting whatever the situation is. The AV doesn't work. All my PowerPoints are gone. Yes and, that's the situation, so I just have to use my script more. The audience is asking you questions and interrupting you during your presentation. Yes and, I could actually address it right now, or say yes and I'm going to come back and address what you're saying at the end at the Q&A. So it's about actually being present in the moment and still engaging authentically and responding to that. So this Yes and game is an improv game. It's really fun, but also it's very useful for public speaking, kind of training yourself and getting loose and being spontaneous. Having a blueprint and then being spontaneous. So to recap, let's have a look at this together. The first one, power of authentic storytelling. Second, don't forget your audience. Third, have a strong blueprint. 4, some acting techniques. Remember to breathe. On-camera recording, record yourselves and try this exercise out. I promise you're going to make amazing discoveries. Oh, and on the note of on-camera recording, I actually forgot to mention. So not only will you identify and see some bad habits you have, but on the other hand, I've worked with people who are very judgmental against themselves, and they think they're doing a horrible job. They think they come across too nervous. They think that they're speaking too fast. And then they actually see themselves, and then they relax, because they're like, oh, that was actually really good. Or, oh, I actually don't do that as much as I thought. Or it comes across confident, even though you might feel nervous. So there's also that positive side of recording yourself. This is not only to have a critique of your work. mental positioning that I talked about, thinking about yourself as the host, and also thinking about nervousness more as excitement. And the improv game that we did, this is something you could just do for a few seconds. I think what we did with our two friends over here was probably less than a minute. And so you can do something that you just kind of, shake yourself up and get your nerves out. So I've covered up my 4 essential key points. I believe I'm within my 30 minutes. And I hope my presentation today was informative and insightful. Like I mentioned, I will be following up with our group with the presentation slides, other links, the TED Talks, other storytelling structures, and I'll even give some guidelines on how you might be able to use those. So I'll follow up with everybody. And if you have any other questions, you know where to reach me. I'm very reachable. We're all very reachable, I'm noticing. And now we must continue on to our closing ceremony. So thank you very much, everyone.